Oh, I have to keep my glasses on. Hi, Catherine. Nice to see you.
Hi, Claire. Nice to see you with our matching glasses.
We have,
Nice to
haven't we? We just realised because we had a little chat before you come on that they're both a little bit wonky. But I think it's because 1 year's up and 1 year's down. That's normal, isn't it?
all the best people have wonky glasses.
I think so. We'll stick to that story.
Thanks
It's
for
great to
having
hear.
me.
Oh, it's brilliant. Thank you so much. And like I've been saying in the group all week as well, all week, is that, I'm bringing on people that I can interview here because these are people that have inspired me on my journey. And Catherine, we've been friends for a couple of years now. We've tried to work it out. It's around a couple of years, but Catherine did actually say forever. I hope that was a good thing, not a bad thing. Feels like forever.
It feels like longer than that
Yeah.
but in a really good way, as in how well we know each other, I think, or how comfortable I
Yeah,
feel with doing
exactly.
your interviews and things when I don't really know what you're going to ask me.
No, I'm a bit like that, aren't I? What are you? Because you came on the Ultimate Arctic Experience, didn't you? When you came and delivered couple of sessions there, and I think that's all I heard. You were like, Claire, what are we doing? I'm like, just going to be authentic. We're just going to go with this. We're going to be organic. We're going to see what people want, and then we're going to deliver. So we have to be flexible. I love it. I know it puts a lot of pressure on people. People like to be prepared, but sometimes those are, I feel, are the best sessions when we're delivering what people are asking. But we digress because let me just go back. You're a nutritionist and you're a health coach. What inspires me about what you actually deliver is your authenticity and the way that you actually deliver. There's no pressure put on people of what they should or shouldn't be doing. You give people the information, and you've inspired me a lot when we've had our conversations on healthy eating. But also, your journey has inspired me as well. And yeah, we I think we connected when we first met each other. It was like, for me anyway, I hope you felt the same. It was an instant connection, and we've remained friends. And this is quite important in when you are surrounding yourself with people, is surround yourself with people who are going to help, love, and support you. And I think that's what's really special about our relationship. And sometimes we may not speak for months, and then all of a sudden a message, and then we'll have a little conversation. So, and I love that. That's great. So while I'm blabbering on, over to you, Catherine. Where did it all start for you?
Where did it all start? Yeah. So,
because you haven't always been a nutritionist, have you?
No. So I haven't always been a nutritionist or health coach. I retrained and started working just over 6 years ago now. So previous to that, I was working in London, in the city, for an IT company, which would also make you chuckle because just trying to get me live on here and my technological abilities is somewhat questionable. It clearly was not my calling in life to be there. But yes, I one of the, just heads up, you can ask me again, but you're asking about my kind of my why as well in doing this, and it's all kind of interlinked. So there I was in my 20s working, in the city, quite a nice lifestyle, I'd done well in my career, I was earning decent money, but I wasn't feeling great myself, like my own health. And I also kind of having niggling kind of feelings around what I was doing and the whole world of like technology. It's great. It's great that we can do this and we've got the technology to do it. But at that time, I was working with a company that was rolling technologies out, and I was kind of the front of it, the face of it, rolling these technologies out to teams of people who were kind of on the lower skill side of things to help automate processes. And what I knew would then happen further down the line is they would end up losing their jobs because they'd be replaced by the technology. Not always, but it was starting to become a trend of that. And And that just didn't sit well with me. I was like, what am I doing in my life that I'm just making money and having this lifestyle? And we'll talk about the behaviors as well. But I feel at that time, I was really confident in what I was doing, going out, talking to people. You wouldn't think I wasn't someone who lacked confidence, but it was a confidence in being a person that everyone else expected me to be, that I had trained to be, rather than a confidence in myself. And I knew deep down that I didn't really want to be, you know, working in this role. It wasn't my passion and it didn't sit with me. And I probably didn't draw the link so much at the time, but now I can see as well how it wasn't really supporting me and my health. And so I started working with a nutritionist, and I started changing what I was eating myself. Had really, really great results from that. You know, I went from quite a very low energy state, really reliant on sort of sugar and caffeine and alcohol and things to be the life and soul of the entertaining, go out there, to change that, and actually got my health back on track, you know, feeling like I had the energy, fixed niggly digestive issues I had, imbalances in my hormones that were, you know, causing really bad PMS and things, back under control. And I thought, you know, this is something that I'm really passionate about. This is something that I want to share with the world, not how to use some software program. I want to share with the world, you know, what's actually really made such a positive difference to my life. And it was just before I, you know, got married, and I've got 2 children now. And, you know, it was just before that as well. And it's something that I wanted to do for myself and my own learning, to be able to bring my children up in a way that they had a healthy lifestyle and they had the best possible diet. And so, yeah, so I took a leap, and I retrained in nutrition. And
So who was, just so that maybe, you know, somebody may connect with this in that life, they may be in some sort of predicament now. So who was Catherine? So obviously you weren't Catherine Pohl then. So
no,
who was Catherine? What was your surname before you got married?
grist.
Grist. Who was
Yeah.
Catherine Grist then? Who was Catherine Grist back with the mask, with a different hat on, the entertainer, low energy, but taking supplements to give her energy?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it
can you
was. I mean,
recognize that person?
I do recognise that person, but it was very much, you know, can tell we all know Deb and the mask analogy, but I think I'd gone about living my life, you know, in a certain way to have other people's expectations. You know, you have these
Yeah.
certain expectations. You should do well in school, and then I never really knew what I wanted to do, but I had good grades, so I went to university, and I don't regret any of those decisions at all. But I went off to university, and I had a great time actually. I travelled, I did languages and economics, and I was based in Sweden for a bit, and in France I did placements. And then obviously you emerge from university and you've got student debts, and you're sort of looking then for a well-paid job. And I got offered I started a job. I went to a job for one day, which was nearer home. So I'd moved back to my parents after university, and it was so I drove to this job, and again it was a job just for the sake of a job, really. And
Yeah.
after that one day at work, I got a call from the recruiter who I'd been talking with, said I'd been offered a different job in London. And this one was way more exciting, and it was much better paid.
Yeah.
And it is, you've got that sort of pressure, because then you do need to earn the money, because you want to pay off the debts and you want to start moving forwards, and you're thinking, wow, at some stage might want to buy a house, you know, certainly going to rent a house, want to move out from my parents. And so you just sort of get on this journey. So that was Catherine Grist. She kind of followed that journey of like what was expected of me, or what was the easiest way to get to the next steps. And there was never a lot of thought around, you know, what is it that I'm really passionate about? The idea that I studied economics, I could not tell you anything about economics anymore. I used to fall asleep in my lectures. It's the most, to me, no offense to anyone who likes that. But we've got to find our thing. You probably
Yeah.
want to read research reports around, you know, nutritional supplements or nutrients and the stuff that I can spend hours going through. But, you know, it wasn't my thing. But I never took that break to think about what I wanted to do and what I was here for. And I think you get to sort of my stage in life now, into the 40s, and suddenly things are a bit more.
You'd only jest in your 40s, but I think you were young then as well, and it's all these expectations of what people expect from you, and it's like you go to school, you go to college, you go to university, you get into debt, you get a good job with all your qualifications, and that's like the normal role with it, isn't it? Is the normal role with it, and then you kind of get lost along the way. You kind of get lost, and then it's figuring out where you want to be in. And like you said, you were lucky enough then to actually find that, actually think, you know, I've got low energy. And what a lot of people will do when they're low in energy or they're low in things like that, they maybe not look at themselves, and they may actually blame other outside resources, people, circumstances on their low energy. And this is some of the things that, you know, that I really want to inspire people, is about looking at yourself so that you can go on the road, so that you can actually develop the person that you want to be, or that you for yourself, not for outside influences, but for you. So what sort of strategies do you think that you actually use then along the way to get you, where are you now? Let's go for there. Let's go from beginning to end, and then we'll go in the middle then as well. Where are you now in your circumstances, confidence-wise? Confidence-wise, that's the main thing that we're looking at. But where are you now?
Yeah, so now I am qualified, registered nutritionist, registered nutritionist, and I work predominantly online now, one-to-one clients, helping them, you know, with their diet, their nutrition, but also other lifestyle factors. And that, as my nutritionist career has kind of evolved, I've been bringing more and more of those things in as well. And we will talk about the behavioral side, which is I guess the most recent part of my journey. But, you know, just little things like, well, not just little things like sleep and movement and connection and purpose. And it is that, so I said 40s, 30s to 40s, I think, is for a lot of people the time when you suddenly get that sort of awareness of, oh, hold on a minute, what do I want to do? You know? I think probably around my 30th birthday was a bit like, oh, like what do I actually want to do? Who am I? And what am I here to do? So I'm doing that now. So I work from my place in the north of Sweden, which is nice.
Just a few hours from me. But I think a lot of people, show me somebody, and if I'm wrong, but put it in the comments. You know, if you're not this type of person who wants a good night's sleep, who needs the energy, who needs to feel as if they've got a purpose in life, and food and nutrition are a massive influence on even just what we feed, what we put in our mouths, feed our brains as well. I don't think people realize that it can affect your moods, it can affect your day-to-day life, it can affect a lot of things. So you were taking supplements in your younger days, and I think we've all done that, haven't we? Actually, I've got my stepson coming on as a youngster, which is going to be amazing to talk about these things as well. Fabulous. But, you know, we try to take the easy option sometimes, which actually then gives us negative consequences. But when we take what we call as the harder options, they'll give us the better consequences.
But it is also a bit of a vicious cycle. So, you know, at that point when my diet wasn't great and I was living this kind of quite fast lifestyle, you're so in it. It's really hard to take a step back. But you know, it was the best thing I ever did to work with a nutritionist myself, so I didn't have to figure it all out. And actually, when I started making the changes, improved my own diet, started to nourish my body and my brain, I think that gave me a lot more capacity. I had the energy. My head was a lot clearer. I wasn't just on that, you know, hamster wheel of day to day, just getting through, getting to the weekend, then doing the social thing, then getting back to the office. I actually had the capacity, the headspace then to think about the rest of it and where I was going and make a plan. And I think it's, you know, I love working with other people who are that, you know, at that sort of stage when they kind of have that light bulb moment, okay, that there's a different way. And once you make that first step, and it isn't always nutrition for everybody, but you make that first, you know, it could be sleep, or it could be a change of career, or whatever it is that just gives you that mental capacity. Then it starts, and then it's just like next change. This is heading in the right direction, right where you actually want to go. And so I would say, you said, you know, where am I now? And I have this confidence in who I really am, and a confidence to do what I want to do, and sort of care a little bit less about what everybody else thinks, not in a way that's going to hurt or damage them, but in a way that I can walk my walk, and I can be the mother that I want to be to my children, and the role model that I want to be for them. And it was all these little strategies along the line. So it started with the nutrition, and then the sleep, and then maybe calming down the lifestyle a little bit, and realizing that I grew up in nature. You know, I grew up in the countryside, and then I'd moved myself to the middle of like one of the biggest cities in the world. It didn't suit me. And actually moving not all the way to Sweden initially, but moving a bit out of that to a bit of a greener space where I could breathe again, taking the, you know, the day trips out on the weekends to the countryside or to the beach, just to get that kind of calm that we get, was another strategy that kind of helped me and helped me cope with it, and then helped me cope through motherhood and all the changes and stresses and pressures that brings, along with all the joy. But you know, all of these things, differences going on.
It's one of the hardest jobs in the world, being a parent. But I think you have hit on it. But just to clarify, when was your light bulb moment when you realized this is not for me? This is something needs to change. Can you remember that? Or was it just a program?
It was back, it must have been just a bit before I turned 30. I think maybe there's a pressure as well on those milestone birthdays. But I had done the nutrition work. I'd had a bit more clarity. You know, I had a bit more headspace. And it was somewhere there that I was like, no, this is kind of a bit more my calling. This is going to make, if I work in this field, I can make a positive difference for myself, for my friends and family, and for, you know, any clients that come to me in the wider world. So it was at that point, I think I had this sort of aha moment. Whether or not I really at that point, I would probably say definitely say that I didn't realize how much I was kind of masking up and how much I was just following the steps at that stage. But that kind of wisdom, I guess, has come later, and with the help of other people that have put that additional layer on top.
That was one of my questions as well. This is like a theme as well. Is that, do you think that you could have done this on your own, or with the outside influences and help from other people? Did you need those?
Yeah, you can't do everything on your own. No,
active
definitely.
help is very important, isn't it?
Active help is really important. And I think this is also something that requires confidence, but also builds confidence. So you do have to take a leap. You know, I was an intelligent young woman. I had a well-paid job, you know.
You still are intelligent, but we'll stick with that.
But I had to seek the help of a nutritionist to get that information. That, you know, I could have sat there and you know, read through reams and reams of books, but it wouldn't have got me there. it's certainly not at a decent speed to make a difference. And it's the same with everything. So I'm constantly learning. And since I started training in nutrition to now, like, I'm always learning, I'm always incorporating new skills, I'm always meeting people serendipitously that come along, and I learn something from it. It sparks an interest, and I see that there's something else. And I've worked with a lot of people along the way. So did my nutrition training, and it's functional medicine based. I've done additional training then in other lifestyle factors that influence our health. And then I also undertook training in sort of behavior patterns with which she's a trained psychologist. She's got a lot of different titles, and a lot of skills there, which introduced.
Before we go on to that, can you pick out some strategies that you used to get you from that mask? You were behind the mask, you were putting on a different hat, you were you weren't really the person you wanted to be, to where you are now. Are there any strategies that you use? Because this is the important thing, is that people got goals, everybody's got goals. And to reach that goal, you need to look. And there was a report done about this as well. Is that the best laid strategies to get you from A to B are the ones that actually work. If you just think, I'm going to get to that goal, they're not going to work. We need strategies. So are there any? Just pick up, I don't know, two, three, whatever. Or if you've got more strategies you used that you can see now that works for you.
So
I put you on the spot.
You have a little bit put me on the spot. No, I use the nutrition myself. I know now how good or how bad what I eat makes me feel. And so sometimes that means I have to be a little bit strict with myself, Maybe I have to rein it in a party invite, or I have to be a little bit just a little bit more disciplined in terms of what I'm doing. But it's a mindset shift as well, is that now I have that knowledge. I know that I'm actually nourishing my body. I know what all these good foods are doing. So it's kind of a little bit twofold, but it's walking the walk, I think, in terms of what I do. And whenever I am feeling maybe a bit run down, maybe I've got too much going on, like, I can use that strategy of just kind of pulling it back in and thinking, okay, what do you need to eat? And for me, it's quite I love cooking as well, so that's quite like a mindful exercise for me as well, to bring myself into my kitchen, into my happy place with my lovely fresh ingredients, and kind of use that to bring myself back in and help me feel good about myself again, so that I can put that message out to, put that front out to the world, feeling good in myself. The other strategy that works for me is using nature as well. So taking time out to walk, to be outside. I bought a dog because I love animals, but a big part of that for me is he holds me accountable. And I'm not saying everyone needs to go out and buy a dog. It's not a decision to be made lightly, because it's a massive commitment. But he makes sure that I do get up and out, and I know that if I've done that walk every morning, I just feel that much calmer, happier, confident in myself. So that her nature is a big strategy for me. And then just surrounding myself with people that support me. And I love that we met and that we connected. And life goes on, times change, and you kind of expect that friends maybe are going to be friends for life, and then you suddenly find that actually that was a different version of me. That's maybe not who I truly was. And so it's really lovely. And I think the last few years I've met a lot of my best friends right now, more recently. And it's being able to connect with people and sort of assess whether that's someone you want to spend your time and energy with, or whether it isn't. And I think
Because
that's
I
another
think when you're
step.
younger, I think when you're younger, you surround the people that you're having the most fun with. That doesn't mean that they're going to be that they're the best of friends. They're going to be there when you've had a difficult time. They're going to be there, you know, for you, and vice versa. It happens there. But I love what you just said, because what I've written down here then is the strategies you've used, and it's made me go all goosebumpy. Is strong mindset. And the things that you actually use to give you that strong mindset to recharge your batteries is you've really looked at yourself and figured out what you love. And you love the nature, your animals, you love the cooking. And when you said about cooking, and I know I've seen you cooking, and
In your cooking, Claire.
Yeah, I won't say that my strategy is cooking. My husband always says to me, you just throw things together and hope for the best. Yep, I really do that, you know. But your cooking is like an art. It is really an art, but
not all the time,
it's figuring out. No, but it's what gives you joy. What gives you joy. And I see some of the artwork that you develop, and I think, wow, that must have taken so much time. And it's something that you can use to recharge your batteries. Like I'm the type of person, I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking and I'm thinking, who's going to do these blooming dishes? That's what I think. Because I hate doing dishes. So I try and cook as least as possible, so I don't develop so many dishes. And when Richard was away last week, I was actually using paper plates so I could throw them away.
We all have our things. But yeah, that's one of my things. It brings me joy.
It brings you joy. It brings you joy, and so it's figuring out and surrounding yourself with supportive people, friends, coaches that and like you touched on it, and you said, you can figure out now, because the person you are is where this person is going to connect. You're going to connect with these people, and whether if they're going to be supportive, because the last thing in the world you want is somebody to just keep pushing you down, because that's not helpful. Fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's go on, because let me just say a little story to everybody. Catherine and our other friend Yvonne, quite funny story actually, came to stay with me in a caravan at the kennel, and I had this. It was in springtime, so I had this vision of us three girls sitting around the table in the caravan, maybe playing cards, drinking a little bit of wine, eating some good food, and outside was spring and it was all dry and some flowers were popping up. I must have been it was
Swedish spring.
It was so far from that, where we had to have wellies to actually wade to the caravan because it was so muddy and it's so much snow and it was so cold. But we made the best of it, and we had a good laugh, and we had, we had a great time. But one thing you did touch on when we were talking was the behaviour changes that you've just gone through. Tell us about those, because these are so important.
I mean, the behaviours have been a really, really big one for myself, but also, in the work that I do with my clients, because in the same way that we can wear a mask, at work and following this career path or whatever it is we think is expected of us, and not really stop and reflect over it, it has such a big impact as well on like how our relationship with the foods and things we're eating, and the things we're doing, like sleeping or lack of sleep or drinking. It's really, really interesting to see this in action, because I think, I had massive breakthrough in terms of how I was feeling from changing my nutrition, I didn't realize how much I think I was working on my behaviors at the same time. And I'm much more conscious of it now. And I've made even bigger steps in terms of, yeah, my behaviors and my attitudes around these things. And I think it's so easy as well. There's all sorts of disordered eating these days. There's all sorts of fad diets, you know, people going on a diet, losing loads of weight, and then putting it all back on again, this kind of yo-yo effect. We have to look at like our behavior alongside it. And it works just the same as well with healthy diets. And so I touched a little bit on in my own journey on that, like being too obsessed with healthy food to the point that it was not good for me because I was worried. I remember one time I was doing some digestive health work, really important and great, but I had to avoid gluten for a while to do it. And I suddenly realized that I was so obsessed with it. Like my kids would like touch something on my plate and I'd be like, oh my God, have they got gluten on their hands? Like, and then that was the point where I realized that my behavior was like out of whack with what I was doing. And so I've done a lot of training around the behavior and the relationship we have with food, because it isn't just, you know, disordered eating in terms of things like anorexia or addictions or yo-yo dieting. It can also be the other way, that we can get a bit obsessed with healthy food. And we have to find that balance. We have to find the reasons why we're eating the way that we are eating. So for me, that had it had its roots a lot in control, you know, and me not feeling in control of other areas of my life was fixating all my control on this very small area of life. And I think I see that quite a lot with like the yo-yo dieting as well, because you put all of the control into this thing and then you reach your goal. But if you haven't addressed what else is going on in your life so that you've got that sense of control and you're on your right path and you're doing your right thing and you don't change any of that, well, then you've either got to stay obsessed with your diet and counting calories or whatever program it is. I don't advocate any of those.
No.
Or it's just going to go back to where it was. And so it's this whole...
You see that. You see that a lot, and like you know, when I was in the UK, I was working in the gym and I'd done all my nutrition, I'd done all that type of thing, and I'd see people come into and it was mostly, and this was like 15, 20 years, maybe even longer, a long time ago, you know, and you'd see it would be predominantly women that would actually be coming back, you know, you'd see them every 6 months, you know, coming back to the gym on these yo-yo diets and, you know, getting into their exercise. And actually you'd see them coming back bigger and bigger and bigger each time. So they hadn't addressed their behaviors. And I always used to say to them, you go on a diet. And I don't like the word diet. You know, it's like a diet is for me, a diet is something that you can sustain day in, day out. And if you can't, like, if somebody said to me, you can never ever eat chocolate ever again, I'd rather be putting on weight. Sorry, no, because I love my chocolate. So I don't want to give up my chocolate. And if I had a diet that said give up your chocolate, I would say no, thank you. And that's what it is, isn't it? It's like being in these diets that you can actually sustain day to day, and it has to become a lifestyle. So then your behavior changes and the way you actually think.
There has to be enjoyable, right? So often I get, you know, new clients booking a call to discuss working with me, and they're like, right, I need to lose this amount of weight. I need like a meal plan for the month so I can get super organized. I'm like, I don't do meal plans. I don't do meal. And the very reason I will help people to meal plan and to learn how to do it themselves. I think meal planning can be a really, really great tool. I mean, it's good for your budget. It's good for your eating healthily. It's good for managing, you know, in a fine family or other dynamic. but not to have that, I've designed a meal plan for you, Claire, and you will follow it, and you cannot deviate from it, and you cannot think for yourself. You're never going to learn intuitively how to eat, how that makes you feel, what's good for you, where you might want to have like a bit too much chocolate or wine, you know, like, because you enjoy it, but it's all balanced, you know.
And also, as human beings, we don't like to be told what to do. So even though I come to you and I say, give me a meal plan, I am going to retaliate against that meal plan because you've told me what to do. I have to make that decision.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a lot of people, and this, you know, this is proven statistics that even though you may go and ask, it's like, how many apps have you downloaded to organize your day? How many apps have you you downloaded to do exercise every day? I've got every day at 2:30 on my alarm clock. I've got to do 20 press ups. I've had it there for 6 months. I think I've done 20 press ups altogether. Because the alarm comes up, oh, it's 2:30, 20 press ups, and it stops there, you know.
But for some people, strategies like that work. It really depends. So you clearly have this quite rebellious streak in you, so it wouldn't work for you. And that's as well where I think, you know, nutrition, health coaching, everything is very, very personalized, but we're so different. We're so different from our tastes, our lifestyles, our behaviors, our gut microbiomes, our genetics. Like, we're all unique individuals, but it goes across the board. So no two people that I work with will I do exactly the same things. And I think we need to recognize that as individuals as well. Just because you told me, Claire, that you did this amazing exercise program and you've done amazing, you know, got amazing results, doesn't mean it's going to work for me. It probably won't work for me. And then we either get caught up in that rebellious streak where we don't do it because we've been told to do it, or we end up beating ourselves up because I couldn't stick to it. Claire did it, but I couldn't stick to it, you know. And then you feel
so I'm rubbish. So why could Claire do it? So why couldn't I do it? You know, and it's all about. And this all about as well is figuring out who you are. And this is one of the things this week is all about, is digging deeper into yourself and figuring out what actually works for you, and figuring out, you know, because we've all been brought up differently. We've all, the first 12 years or 12 years of our lives, you know, that's what predicts our future, basically, because these are instilled in us. And no human being, no human being has got the same outlook. You know, it'd be very boring if we did, but it's figuring out what works for us. Do you remember the cabbage soup diet that everybody was doing? And it was like, and I couldn't get my head around this. And this is something I've never been this type of person, actually, to believe. It sounds wrong, believe other people. I would have to listen to what other people are doing, do my research to figure out. I couldn't say, oh, you know, Betty down the road is doing this cabbage soup diet and she's lost 6 stone in like 2 months, so I'm going to do it. I was never that type of person. And that's figuring out who you are. But if you are that person who's easily influenced, what we've got to recognize is, how can we be easily influenced in a positive way, and what works for us?
Yeah. And, you know, that's why for some people, group programs, like I sometimes run periodically run like a group healthy eating, healthy lifestyle course. And some people really love the fact that they're in a group and that they can swap ideas and they can keep each other, you know, motivated and a little bit held accountable. Some people don't like that dynamic. That just doesn't work for them because it brings out the rebel in them, or their competitive streak where they've got to do better than everybody else. So we have to recognize what these patterns are for ourselves. And I love helping people to kind of figure out those bits as well, so that we can really find a way to help. I can help them to find a way to, you know, and it's a collaborative process to go on this journey, so that it doesn't feel like a diet, it doesn't feel like an ordeal. And sometimes you come back because people are like, yeah, no, this is going to work for me. I'm an all or nothing person, so we're going to do it like this. And then we meet up again in 2 weeks and they're like, yeah, I didn't do it. I'm like, you're not an all or nothing person, so let's find a different way. It's a bit of trial and error in it sometimes, but it is, it's difficult. But the more we can understand ourselves and become confident in that person that we are, know what our strengths and our weaknesses are, not be ashamed of our weaknesses, confidence to ask for help in the areas that we need help in.
And also the stories you hit on it then as well, is the stories that you actually tell yourself. And you just said, like somebody come to you say, I'm an all or nothing person, and you figure out they're not, because they've been telling themselves that for a very long time. Maybe their parents told them that when they were younger. You're an all or nothing child. So that's just instilled in them. And it's like Richard, he wants to, we both just hit 50, and we're like, oh, we want to just make the best. We're getting a bit older. We want to start thinking about our diet. It's not old. It hasn't been really great. And he's like, but I don't want to eat rabbit food. I don't want to go on that rabbit food diet. And I said, but it's what you're telling yourself. It's like you said, it has to be enjoyable. If you think the healthy eating is rabbit food, which is plainly grass, then you're not going to make this enjoyable. It's like, we've got to look into this. Healthy eating can be enjoyable. It is enjoyable.
Yeah.
What's enjoyable about eating a beige diet?
No.
Beige. It doesn't bring you joy. Beige diet, it's like your pictures when you cook, brings me joy because I see the art. Like, if you put a few sausage rolls and peanuts and a packet of crisps on a picture, it wouldn't really bring me that much joy. It's just beige. But it is what we actually tell ourselves as well. And it's thinking about when we are telling ourselves these things, actually what we are telling ourselves, and are they the truth? They may be your truth, but think about it. Are they the real truth?
Or is it something somebody else has told you? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or that you've made up yourself. Sometimes we make up these stories to protect ourselves in a certain situation, which no longer exists. And so, we've got to unlearn these things. And sometimes, that's as well why it's great to have community. You said, can you do this on your own? You can't, because each and every interaction you have with somebody else can be a way to sort of stimulate that desire, just that knowledge, self-knowledge, to think about something like, oh no, I don't do that. Hang on a minute. Why don't I do that? Could I do that?
It's somebody to question you as well, isn't it? Is that true? Is that really how it works? And that's why it's so important to surround yourself and ask for help, because these type of people are going to question you so that you'll question yourself. And they love you for who you are, but then they will encourage you as well, so that you can actually step into that self-full person, so that you can bring the best then to your friendship, to yourself, to your friendship.
Yeah, that's really nice.
It is. And we're like, maybe we should stop on that note. Is there anything else, that you want to actually say that can help somebody, to dig deeper into themselves? You've given a lot of valuable information here as well. You've given it, it's inspiring people to dig deeper into themselves, because we're going to dare them to be themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's really a beautiful network that you have here of support for that, because it's what we were just talking about. When you think that you need to make a change in, maybe you need to make a dietary change for your health or for your weight, whatever it is, if it's going to be a long standing, effective change that's really going to make you happy, there's going to be something else in there. And it's about having that support network that will give you the confidence that you can go there, that you won't be just left floundering on it on your own. And as much as I give people information about nutrition and diet, I'm also there to hold their hand, to hold their space for them for whatever comes up, and help them to deal with it so that they get the long lasting results that they deserve, you know, and that they're worthy of, and that are there for the long run. So I love what you're doing, and you know, you and everyone I've met within the network has also done that for me, you know, being that kind of safe space to be myself and become more confident in myself. And I think it's really, really important. And yeah, inspiring other people to do the same. That's what it's all about.
Wow. We're going to leave it on that note, because that was amazing. And I want that to stay in people's heads, because we've inspired each other, and that's what we need. That's what we need. Thank you so much, Catherine, coming on. And
thank you for having me, Claire. I really enjoyed that. I hope it was inspiring. It's really just things coming out of my head in the conversation. So it was really great.
And you know, that's what I love to do. Fix people's brains. Thank you so much. And lots of love. Speak to you soon.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.